Thank you, Ed.
Good to see you.
So we are learning more about the gunman behind the Sydney hostage standoff. Police identify him as Sheikh Haron. They say he was a self-proclaimed sheikh and well-known in intelligence and law enforcement circles because of his very storied past. He was a suspect in a murder case and was also known for writing hateful letters to the families of fallen soldiers. Ryan Mauro is a security analyst for the Clarion Project and my guest today. He also had a bunch of sexual, cases against him as well,
40.
Right? I mean, the police knew who this guy was. The problem is, what do you do about somebody like this until they actually do an act like this?
Well, there's going to be two debates now that are going to happen. The first is going to be in relation to immigration, because he came over to Australia supposedly as a political refugee from Iran. Shortly after he came to Australia is when he started victimizing women. Like I said, reported incidents of about 40. And he started engaging in very radical and illegal activity, like writing letters to the families of soldiers that were serving in Iraq and taunting them, saying horrible things. The second major debate is going to be about the free speech issue, which is that virtually everyone knew of this radical. The Muslim community did. I heard of this guy previously. But what do you do about that when you know someone sympathizes with a terrorist organization, but he's not actually engaging in illegal activity to act on those, on what he's saying? We know that, for example, in recent months, he was sympathizing with terrorist groups, but he was saying, oh, well, I'm a peace activist. My jihad is the jihad of the pen. And it was all done in order to deceive. I can read that language, and I understand the deception. But to your average person out there, they'll see what he was saying and say, okay, well, he's saying he's nonviolent.
Ah, very interesting. All right. An earlier guest on The Real Story said that maybe this was sort of a snafu, that he didn't intend to actually go into this coffee shop because there were very important government buildings right there. Do you think that that could be true? And secondarily, was this a result of his allegiance to ISIS?
Definitely, but more importantly was his allegiance to radical Islam as a whole. So whether he's acting out of an allegiance to Al-Qaeda or ISIS, it doesn't really matter. But yes, we do know, based on what he was telling the hostages to do, that he is a supporter of the Islamic State. So he may not be a member, but these terrorist groups don't have membership cards. If you believe in the ideology, you're essentially a member. Personally, I think that he just wanted to go after any easy target in that area because there was a news station right there.
Okay. What does this mean for the United States?
Well, it's a reminder of just the lesson that we've had to learn since 9/11 and ever since these lone wolf attacks, as they're called, has started, which is that these attacks are easy to carry out. And I'm amazed that there haven't been more of them. And so while this is shocking to your average viewer, to those of us that study this attack, we're shocked that it hasn't happened more often. And that's a very sad reality that we have to deal with.
So what should the United States do? We just heard N. Henry talking about the fact that the president has authorized now this new law or new bill that would, increase what we're doing in Iraq and Syria. But what about here on the home front?
Well, broadly, and this applies to the domestic front as well as the foreign, we've got to start targeting the ideology, the Islamist ideology that combines mosque and state. It's not just about Al-Qaeda or ISIS. And there's a fundamental misunderstanding of the ideological motives here behind all of these groups. For example, the White House recently responded to a petition saying that the Muslim Brotherhood should be labeled as a terrorist group. They responded by saying there's no evidence that they're engaged in terrorism and they are nonviolent. That shows that we just don't get it. The Egyptian government says that ISIS would not exist if it weren't for the Muslim Brotherhood ideology.
Ryan Mauro, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Time to check in now with Shepard.